Hi, welcome to Kitchen Garden Therapy. I'm Slava, and today I would like to take you on a tour of my garden. This is going to be the first tour of 2023, and this year we had a late spring, or should I say cold spring. Usually in March it starts getting warm, but this year March was really cold, and that's why probably all of the flowers that could have been blooming earlier are just starting to bloom right now. Also, I wasn't able to plant as many spring vegetables as I usually do, but still you can see there's a lot of blooms. I already see a ton of bees flying around trying to pollinate the flowers. I have this beautiful pansy basket, also a ton of perennials that started blooming. You can see here grape hyacinth, also known as muscari. This is an edible flower. I love having it in my garden. I also have some hyacinths in bloom and bleeding hearts as well. This white hyacinth is several years old and the clump is getting bigger and bigger. I'm very happy to see that. My daffodils are starting to bloom as well. These miniature yellow daffodils are so cute. My roses are still not leafing out, they're still sleeping, but hopefully soon. Also here I have another hyacinth that's pink, and behind it is a medicinal plant called pulmonaria, also known as lungwort. It's good for respiratory system, so I like having it in my garden just in case. There is another clump of grape hyacinth here, and you can see hostas are starting to grow. By the way, hostas are edible, and I have a video about them. I'll place the link in the description box below. Now here are hellebores in bloom, and these hellebores are nice green color. They're kind of white, but then the more they bloom, the greener they get. And as you can see in the back are peonies starting to leaf out. In front of my stairs I have pansies in the pots, and also I have hanging baskets with pansies here. And maybe you remember a few months ago, in January or February, I was planting these pansies together with my strawberries. So I received paired strawberries and I planted them in these hanging pots, and then I added pansies to them. So as you can see, strawberries are starting to grow, pansies are blooming, so this experiment was a success. So far, of course, once I start harvesting strawberries, then I can completely and confidently say that it is a successful experiment. But for now, strawberries are growing. Now let's take a look what's happening by my library, where I have a few more clumps of hyacinths, blue on this side, so I have white and pink on the other side and blue hyacinths here. I also have one ranunculus and a snapdragon over here. And these are bee balm starting to grow here. And then on the back over there I have some larger daffodils, which are yellow and orange, so they're so cute. They have this traditional yellow color, but then the middle is this bright orange color. So cute. I'm happy to see daffodils, and daffodils are so effortless, like you plant and forget, and animals don't bother them. No squirrels, no rabbits would eat daffodils, so that's an awesome plant to have in the garden. Now here in this tiny corner I have some spinach growing, also kale. These were winter sown in my plastic containers, and then I transplanted them in here. Now let's take a look at my back garden. So in my backyard, things don't look that good yet because it's still in April and I just started planting things out. My perennials are starting to come up as well. On my fence, I have these hanging baskets with some pansies and peas. So this peas was also winter sown, and then I transplanted them into these hanging baskets. In my in-ground beds, I have some herbs and also some garlic that overwintered. I have garlic chives, I have celery that I planted in here. Also, my raspberries are starting to leaf out. You can see several of the raspberry plants. They multiply on their own, like you don't even have to do anything with these raspberries. They just keep on growing. Now this is my dwarf peach tree, and last year I had one peach out of this miniature tree. This bigger one is a sour cherry tree, and also I had just one cherry last year, even though it was covered in blooms. Hopefully this year I'll have many more fruit. The tree is 7 years old, by the way. Here I have some spinach that I planted, some tomatoes that are still in pots, and in these raised beds I have peas in the back. And then here, remember, I was sowing some red vein spinach and it started sprouting. Also, there is a red arugula that's just starting to grow as well. And peas is doing just fine. Now in this one, I planted red lettuce and red Russian kale, and they are sprouting as well. You can see how happily they are growing because finally we have warm temperatures, so everything is going to grow nice now. Here in the hanging basket I have some peas growing. I love growing peas in hanging baskets because it saves space and I can maximize the harvest, and I love peas. Now here I have this medicinal plant called coltsfoot. It looks like a miniature dandelion, but it's a completely different plant. Coltsfoot is blooming in early spring. First the flowers come up, and then after it finishes blooming, the leaves come up. And coltsfoot is used as a natural remedy for inflammatory conditions like asthma, also for flus and cold. For arthritis, so I'm happy to have coltsfoot in my garden as well. And it grows like weed. In this raised bed, I have some potatoes already sprouting. I planted them in the end of March, and I have a row of radishes that I have to thin as soon as possible because you can see that I oversown it, like, so it's just too many radishes, so I have to do some thinning today. This is Schisandra vine, which is also a medicinal plant, and it started having leaves already. And these are my red and black currant bushes. Currant bushes start leafing out very early in the spring, so I'm very happy to see that. And this is the most exciting part of this tour. These two plants are the Turkish rocket that I started from seed last year. I was sharing with you that this is a perennial vegetable. There is one more on that side, you can see. Turkish rocket is a nice leafy green that's perennial, and I'm very happy that it survived the winter, and hopefully this year it will grow bigger and I will be able to harvest some. Now let's take a look at my back porch, where I have 2 green stalk towers that I'm very happy with. In these green stalk towers, I transplanted a lot of annual veggies a couple weeks ago, and as you can see, they are growing really good. I had some plastic covers on these towers for a couple of weeks to protect from freezing temperatures, and it looks like all of the veggies are growing so good. They are happy to welcome warmer temperatures now. I have a bunch of kale, collards, mizuna, spinach, lettuce, radicchio, all kinds of greens in here. These are collards, this is spinach, and most of these things were transplanted. So I started them indoors in February, I believe, and then in March I transplanted in these towers. This is radicchio, by the way. And so this is basically like more than a month old seedlings. And in these barrels I have some broad beans or fava beans in the middle, with pansies on all around, and then also I planted some peas in there, but it's not coming up yet. And then here I have clematis starting to grow. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it. I would really love to have some tomatoes growing on this arc. I have some perennial herbs in here. This is my chives that's starting to bloom, sorrel, garlic chives. I also have some chamomile in here coming up. This is Roman chamomile, that's perennial. Another sorrel, parsley, sage, chives, a mix of everything. And then there's another clematis here and a bee balm. So happy to see all of these perennials coming up. Now let's take a look at my greenhouse. So I brought some tomatoes that are a little bit more cold hardy than regular tomatoes. So these are early varieties of tomatoes and some eggplants in here. And some of these tomatoes I already transplanted into their permanent spot, which are these large pots or containers, and most of them are still in their gallon or 2-gallon buckets. So I'm going to transplant these tomatoes soon. They are doing fine. It's kind of hot in the greenhouse now. You can see it's like more than 80, almost 90 degrees in the greenhouse, and that's with open plastic. Like I open in the morning, and most likely this week I'm not even going to close the greenhouse anymore for the night, unless it gets really cold at night. My raised beds are still kind of bare. You can see a lot of empty ground or soil, even though I sowed a lot of seeds already. So let me show you what's happening in here. My broad beans are growing good. You can see some wasp dancing in here. I don't know what he's doing. He's like playing hide and seek with me. I'm very happy to see bees and wasps. Like, it's so good to see. I have a row of radishes in here as well. I have a few celery plants in here that I started from seed. I also have some cabbages in here, like pixie cabbage. There's also some broccoli. I think over here is my aspa brock and my elephant garlic interplanted. So this elephant garlic is from fall, and then the aspa brock I started indoors and then transplanted it in here last month. Here I have regular hardneck garlic, some mash that overwintered, same as garlic, and I have some broccoli plants. Here I have Romanesco, This is perpetual spinach that was also transplanted in here. There's also some overwintered garlic and some arugula. And here I have red Napa cabbage and pak choi, also some pansies. Oh, and this is my comfrey. I am so happy to see comfrey growing. This is a great fertilizer, so I always make a fertilizer out of my comfrey. And here I have some lavender, perennial onion. This is Egyptian walking onion. Also, this is my red vein sorrel, which is so pretty. Just look how beautiful it is. My ramps are also coming up, and salad burnet. There's also some chives and strawberries in between. So this is my April garden tour. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for coming along.